Thank you for joining me. And today we are discussing myths and facts about enzymes because we are tired of having the same exact conversation over and over and over again for the last 30 years. Myths and facts about enzymes. So, welcome to our training. And one of the things we get questions on all the time is we have never ending enzymes. Yes or no? Is this
No,
a fact or a myth? Joy?
no, it is not. You are born with a limited amount of your own enzymes. That is a bank. So it's like an investment trust account that you have $1 million. You can spend that $1 million on a cheeseburger and a latte a day, or you can spend that $1 million when your body is maybe fighting dis-ease within itself. And those are the enzymes that are there to protect your five major organs. If you have used them to digest your foods, such as anything cooked or super processed, it's not there to help you in times of distress.
What I'm hearing you say is really we have a certain amount that our mom and dad give us. And then
Yep.
depending on what we consume from birth is whether we deplete, whether we maintain, or whether we build up enzymes. Am I
Yes.
getting that right?
Yes. So you are born with a set amount of metabolic enzymes that are there within your body to protect you, to help you, to foster growth in your organs. It's related to your collagen, your estrogen levels, the methylation, all of that all combines together, but you have a limited amount that you are born with. As we take those things to digest, I don't know, Jody, potato chips. Um,
I thought I said that in secret.
no secrets between sisters. So as we're taking those to break down the foods that we're eating, because if we're eating foods that are very low in enzymes, so when you have a food that's, say, McDonald's, that's going to stay good on the counter for 20 years, as studies have shown, it stays good, which means it has lost its ability to break itself down. So it is so processed that it doesn't actually digest or absorb itself. As you're doing that, you're calling on metabolic enzymes, which is what you're born with, to digest that food. And then from there, that gets depleted because it is a deposit only account, like it's a withdrawal only account. You can't make any deposits into those enzymes. So anything that you're eating that is cooked above 114 degrees Fahrenheit requires an enzymatic support.
What are enzymes? There are four main types of enzymes. One of them is amylase. This breaks down starches and complex carbohydrates into sugars. This is your rice, your breads, your pastas, your fruits, and some vegetables. So a little sidebar of a live training that we're going to be doing on is like sugar and what that is. Amylase needs to break down this. So when we think that we're making great choices of rice, or our cereals or our fortified wheat bread, this actually turns to sugar in the body. So just a little ninja hack here. Sugar is sugar, and we need amylase to break it down. Lipase is the next one. So this breaks down healthy fats and oils into fatty acids. Notice I did not say unhealthy fats. This is essential for feeling satisfied after eating. Brain health and heart health. Healthy fats need lipase enzymes.
Unhealthy fats, such as seed oils, anything processed that is heated above 114 degrees Fahrenheit. So when we look at our seed oils being heated above 300 degrees Celsius, and the rancidity because so when we have the seed oils that are processed at that extreme temperature, there are zero enzymes left to be able to break themselves down. And keep in mind, every food is equipped with its own enzymes to break itself down. The only time it is not is when we heat it above 114 degrees Fahrenheit. So as soon as that happens, it's not that we're depleting the minerals or the vitamins or anything there. We're just depleting the food's ability to break itself down, which means that our body has to work harder to break it down. A really good recommendation is anytime you're eating something heated above 114 degrees Fahrenheit, you want to be taking a supplemental enzyme to help you absorb that in the best way possible. Go on with the protease, because that protein affects all of your hormones and all of your thyroid. Take it away, Jody.
Well, I'm actually going to pause there. And so you mentioned a really good thing, and this is sometimes a hot topic on my feed. Seed oils. Mainstream has said that they're good. And now there are gurus coming out saying that they're not. So give me an example. I don't want to know the how and the why and all that, but what are seed oils?
Got grapeseed, rapeseed. We've got even our olive oils, canola oils, anything that is not cold pressed. What happens in that processing? And I'm sorry, I can't answer your question without being specific. You're heating those oils to 300 degrees Celsius. You are turning them rancid. They then start to stink really, really bad. So they add a deodorizer, which is a known carcinogen. They then make it very, very cloudy. So they clear it with a chlorine, which is a known toxin. So we now have a carcinogen. We have formaldehydes and bleaches and stuff going into those products. They heat them, they put them on the shelves for you, they clarify them, and then they package them in plastic. And everybody knows we're ingesting over a credit card worth of plastics per week on average with those microplastics that are in our foods. So, and they've packaged that, they put it on the shelves for you to actually measure and ingest. So we want to look for oils that are cold pressed. Olive oils, cold pressed avocado oils, coconut oils are great. The shelf stability of them. The clarified coconut oil, if you are maybe having an aversion to a coconut taste, is going to be your MCT oil, which is your medium chain triglycerides. Those are your really healthy oils and why you want to avoid the other oils. And that's just in a nutshell.
Perfect. Thank you. And to give a little ninja hack, that's something that we teach in one of my 5-week programs is I'm a Canadian. My husband is from Saskatchewan. They grow a plethora of canola oil and it was marketed as a healthy oil. And yet all the deodorizers, it is known as rapeseed, that is actually toxic in its natural form to humans. It's poison. So in order to ingest it, we have to go through a chemical process. Plus, then it is rancid. So then they put the deodorizers in, and it's marketed as a healthy oil. Protease. Okay, let's break down that. So that is proteins. Okay, this breaks it down into amino acids, animal protein, plant protein, and even low protein foods need protease to be utilized in the body. And this is something that's really cool when we do live cell analysis. I say we, but Joy does live cell analysis and has for the last 30 years. It looks like teardrops. Instead of a nice round cell underneath the microscope, we're seeing teardrop shapes when we don't digest our proteins. So really important that we know what we're consuming, but also that we're digesting it properly. For me, and I'll speak personally for me, I have always had a problem digesting protein. It's probably something that I was born with. I need a protein enzyme for the rest of my life to help me break it down. So we can be eating all of the right food, or you can be carnivore, or you can be vegan. It doesn't matter if you're not breaking down your proteins into amino acids because you have an enzyme deficiency. Joy, do you have anything else you'd want to say on?
They kind of link together and they look like kind of balloons that have end-to-end connections. And it's partially because the proteins are not being picked up in the serum properly. So what I want to see is those really healthy round, and I would say that one kind of right second from the top there is what I want to see everybody looking like. Sometimes they turn into those stretched out balloons that look like they can't, and they're all connected. It's called a protein linkage. And that's when the proteins are too big in the serum for the cells to actually pick up. The other thing that happens from there is the proteins get picked up in mass. So we end up with really big red cells and then not at all. So then we have really small red cells, which is actually linked to a hormone imbalance, because what happens with that protein absorption, and keep in mind, as we absorb all of our foods, we're actually looking to methylate those foods into carbon. We want to process them all out and turn them into air and exhale. Yes, Jody?
Methylation. It means, break it down, detoxification.
Yes. So we want to take it, we want to work it through the system, and we want to turn it into air and exhale it.
Perfect.
That's the methylation process. So as our bodies are taking in that protein, our cells are either picking it up en masse or not able to get it at all because we don't have enough digestive enzymes. It's then causing an imbalance in the methylation. Then what happens is our thyroid is not able, we're not able to convert those to different hormones. So then we can't actually convert that to a D3 hormone. And so then we present like we have a thyroid imbalance when actually what we really have is a protein in absorption. And we just need a digestive enzyme.
Absolutely. So then maltase. This breaks down the sugar maltose into glucose. Maltase is created when the amylase breaks down starch. Some seeds of fruits and vegetables, baking, and sweet potato. I don't know why I have candy in there. Well, actually, maltase does help break down candy and baking goods, so that's not a lie. I had to think about, I'm like, why do I have that? And this is why. Let's circle back to amylase. So remember how I said that amylase breaks down things into sugars, like carbohydrates into sugars. Well, we need the maltase to be able to break that down so that we can actually methylate it. Anything you want to say on that?
Yeah, the amylase is more responsible for the starch part and the fiber part, whereas the maltase is responsible for the sugar part. So the maltase you're going to see more so in like a diabetic presentation than you are in like the starch carbs, fibrous carbs. So depending on the strain of diabetes is we make the decisions. Anyway.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. And then we have a bonus enzyme. I know that there's four main ones, but the bonus one is trypsin. And this breaks down proteins into amino acids into the small intestine. So a lot of digestion happens in like breaking it down in the stomach, but then how it gets into the bloodstream goes into the small intestine. So one of the main things is the trypsin, because we need our proteins to be broken down into amino acids. Otherwise, it will not cross into the bloodstream and get to where it needs to be. And that's how we get our nutrients. We can eat anything we want and have enzymes. This is so... And Joy threw me under the bus earlier today because I admitted that like my 17-year-old daughter brought chips in for her birthday and then they didn't get eaten. So like somebody had to do the job. Somebody had to take that on. And chips.
Doing the Lord's work.
I took one for the team. And you know what? Right from birth, we explained this earlier, we're affected with our diet of how we replenish and deplete our reserves. So whether we're formula fed, whether we're breastfed, whether we're soy fed, whether we're, given a gentle formula because we have sensitive tummies, all of this affects our enzyme reserves. Highly processed diets will deplete our reserves much faster than our whole source diet. So again, when we're thinking about birth, we're thinking about the chips that I ate. We're thinking about the McDonald's. We're thinking about the Dairy Queen because they have amazing peanut butter parfaits. Right?
Yeah.
Like all the good things, right? When we're thinking about that, they are highly processed foods and they have been fortified, which means synthetic supplements have been added into those foods to make them nutritious. Another thing that affects enzyme activity in the body is antibiotics. They have a drastic effect on our body's ability to create and maintain our digestive enzymes. Antibiotics actually impede and kill off of our digestive enzymes. This has had compounding effects because it affects our gut bacteria. So a lot of gurus will say, oh, you get on antibiotics, so when you're off the antibiotics, you got to go on a gut protocol. And I don't disagree. However, if you've been on antibiotics and you get on a gut protocol, you also need to get on digestive enzymes to help the body replenish. Joy, it's the metabolic enzymes or the other ones?
It's not. You cannot replenish metabolic enzymes. That is the bank that you are born with, and it is a withdrawal only inheritance that you get from your parents. So, one thing, because if you've depleted that gut biome, because the goal of antibiotics is to kill all the bacteria, it doesn't discriminate. So, it takes all the bacteria, good, bad, and indifferent. So, that's why people will say go on a good bacteria, pro flora, you know, gut biome protocol afterwards. In addition, because while your gut is then healing from that, to give it things that it can't break down, like cooked foods or processed foods, is super unkind because you've just given it would be like giving a really hurting person a car accident and say like, I don't know why you can't deal with that. Yeah. So you have someone that's already healing from something and then just add and compound to it. So as much as you can after antibiotics, you want to be adding those digestive enzymes. You want to be adding the good flora back into your body. You want to be eating whole raw foods, which, let's be clear, we don't want to after we've been sick. We are looking for that dopamine high. We're looking for the casein, like all of those things that actually feed our brains and make us feel good. So we're not really sticking to bone broth and raw vegetables after we don't feel good. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to consciously make that decision, add a digestive enzyme to the foods that you're doing that with.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to be clear here because, like, we know, and you touched on it, but let's break it down a little bit more. We know that, raw foods do have their own enzymes. So that is where the misconception comes from, where like we can just rebuild it, we can replenish it because we eat like our salads and we eat our fruit and they have enzymes. And so, like, I'm putting deposits into my bank account, right? Can you unpack that a little bit more? Like they don't count, what happens there? Because I know you touched on it, but let's break that down even further.
We have a bank that we are born with. Those are metabolic enzymes. Those are there to help our bodies, our organs, in times of dis-ease and struggle. So in the times that we're getting over a cold, we're getting over sickness, or maybe we're fighting cancer or MS or an autoimmune disease, those are the enzymes that are there to actually support our organs. If we are taking those metabolic enzymes, which is that $1 million bank account that we are born with, and we use it to digest a cheeseburger, and we withdraw from this account at $1 a day, and we have cheeseburgers, we have fries, we have potato chips, Jody, we have peanut butter parfaits, we're doing our thing. We are slowly chipping away at that account that is a metabolic bank. We can never deposit to this account. So the only thing then that we are left to do is take a digestive support when we do have these foods, or we're looking at supporting during times of dis-ease.
Thank you. So sugar. Sugar can also impact our enzyme function by binding to the enzyme's active site and blocking its ability to interact with its intended job, whether it be digestion, liver, intestine, or brain. This leads to diagnoses such as insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome. We know that when we do a lifestyle analysis, sugar will paralyze the immune system. Caffeine does the same thing, where the white blood cells just sit there and do nothing for at least 20 minutes. So let's break that down. So I love my cup of coffee in the morning. And I'll be honest, I have about 12 ounces, not just 8 ounces. I have 12 ounces of coffee. And I put a tablespoon of honey into it. And I put my half a tablespoon, because I measured it. I'm like, what's a pour? And it is half a tablespoon of heavy cream. Now, dairy turns to sugar in the system. Honey has a lower glucose index than sugar, but it is still sugar. And then caffeine. How long do you think my immune system is going to be paralyzed for? Because I've consumed all three of those together. Now let's pair a croissant with it. Let's pair some toast with it. Let's pair a donut with it, because Canadians love their Tim Hortons or their Starbucks, and they get their breakfast sandwich and stuff. And now the breads are turning into sugars. So how much more is your immune system going to be paralyzed? So when we're thinking about what we're consuming, we have to think about the compounding effects, because if we have a coffee in the morning with all the things, if we have a coffee mid-morning, we have a coffee in the afternoon, and maybe come 3 o'clock, we have a chai tea, because like can't have coffee in the afternoon, right? So let's have a green tea. Let's have a chai tea. Still caffeine. So how are we treating our bodies? How is it supposed to help us heal? How is the enzyme supposed to be activated if we're killing things off? Joy, you've raised your hands. You've got a comment. You can't wait. Keep going. Take it.
So in addition to that caffeine, to that sugar, I also want to add anything sparkling. So any kind of carbonated beverages, even your bubbly, calorie-free water, that carbonation paralyzes your immune system. So, and it's not
we did sidebar. We did talk about that in our previous training. So if you want to watch that, please comment, say, send me the recording of the water, and I will happily send that to you.
It's not that it paralyzes your immune system, it's your white blood cells. So your fighters fight, the ones that fight infection, the ones that fight viruses, they actually can't do their job. It's like they're on caffeine overload. It's like they're a 2-year-old that you gave a can of Coke to, and he just like vibrates for the next 20 minutes. That's all your white cells are capable of, is vibrating for the next 20 minutes. So they can't go around, they can't clean viruses, they can't fight infections, they can't do it. You still have an immune system, it's just not optimally functioning.
Okay, enzymes are the life force of any living food. Notice I say living food. This is true. Whether it is animal or plant, everything has a life force. Enzyme activity. We know that when there is no life force, there is decay and there is decomposition. Caffeine, sugar, overcooking, overprocessing affects this life force energy, which we talked about with the temperatures that we cook our foods, the seed oils. It paralyzes our white cells for 20 minutes and inhibits nutrition absorption. When we do not consume nourishment that has enzyme activity, we are leading our body down a dis-ease pathway. Animal protein has enzymes. Plant protein has enzymes. Fruits and vegetables have enzymes because they are living. Breads, pastas, sugars, very few or none at all. Joy, anything that you want to say, like closing thoughts, things that are related to what you do, things like that?
I think the fermented breads, like when you're looking at sourdough that's actually been done properly, not Safeway, when you're looking at the when you're looking at a bakery that actually takes that 3 days to move through the fermentation process, cook it properly, that is very high in enzymes and actually prebiotics. So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say no breads. I want to say like rye, spelt, fermented foods that have those active agents in them that are not cooked out. I know looking at the sample here, it makes me quite excited. So the
I know I saw that. I'm like, I have to use it. I have to use it.
yeah, so what we're seeing, like that whole glob on the, and I'm going to call it a glob, on the left-hand side, it's actually a white blood cell. And that's one of your fighters that goes around, and that's a tongue in the front of it. And I'm far right side of that glob, basically. And you're going to see that little white, kind of bluey crystal in there. So this is a white blood cell that's kind of gone around as a vacuum cleaner, clearing the serum of all the viruses, toxins, things. It's picked up some undigested fats, which is that blue crystal, and it's collecting all kinds of things. Those really circular, smaller bubbles are actually yeast and bacteria. The darker bubbles within that conglomerate on the right-hand side of the screen is bowel toxicity. And then I am seeing some irregular shapes, like some larger red cells, which are the full circles, and some smaller ones, and some ones that look like ovals, and some ones that the borders have kind of been compromised. So that looks like some free radical damage and some protein absorption issues. So digestive enzyme, yeast protocol, looks like they have an active immune system, and I would definitely put them on a bowel cleanse and possibly a liver support, just based on that one little liver crystal, if I saw more of that throughout the slide.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Session in 2 weeks from now, we are going to bring this together even further, and we're going to talk about the myths and facts about a power night and power morning.